Are you ready? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready? Because it's Monday. Because it's Monday. And it's Monday, yeah. Come on, let's clap. Come on, let's clap. Yeah. Let's clap. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's Monday. It's Monday. Woo-hoo. Are you ready now? Are we ready? Yeah, because it's Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah.
Welcome, folks. Thanks for attending. My name is Joe Muccioli. I'm the Artistic Director for the Jazz Arts Project, nonprofit organization, which for almost 15 years has been presenting and honoring jazz with world-class concerts and high-level education programs. I'm going to introduce our guest in just a minute, but first things first. Thank you to all our donors and supporters and sponsors. Our platinum presenting partner is Ocean First Bank, with support from Monmouth Arts and from you, our supporting members. So a heartfelt thank you, thank you, thank you.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. And itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again.
As children, we learned to sing songs and hear music in such a pure and uncritical way. Perhaps like me at an early age, you may not have even thought that a human created the melody that you have been singing incessantly throughout the house all day, but rather it just always existed or magically appeared from pixie dust. When I was old enough to realize that most music was actually composed by someone, I was fascinated and thought they must be some very special people and very special skills. Songwriting is one kind of composition where a simple melody and usually a set of words or lyrics are combined to form a song. Doe a Deer, Stardust, Melancholy Baby, whether it's a song from the Great American Songbook or from Elton John or the Beatles or some pop artist today, it's a song. It's a songwriter's endeavor. Sometimes those songs will turn into a much larger work, say an opera or a musical theater. But songwriters are a definite breed among themselves. Even Happy Birthday, which surprised me that it didn't always just exist. Of course, in 1893, when two Kentucky schoolteacher sisters, Patty and Mildred Hill, wrote the song for Patty's kindergarten students, this was the lyric. Sing to yourself these lyrics to the tune of Happy Birthday. You'll see it. Sometime after the turn of the century, the Happy Birthday lyrics were added by recomposition or derivative or out-and-out theft, who knows. We're not sure who added the lyrics, but it caused quite a stir. For nearly 100 years, $1 million dispute for copyright claims was fought and only finally settled in 2016. But I digress. What we think of as traditional music composition stems from practices of Western culture beginning in the Middle Ages through the Baroque, Classical, Romantic, and into the modern era. To me, successful composition depends on some means of memorializing the musical material so that it can be critiqued, preserved, interpreted, and performed by musicians of the day or even from hundreds of years in the future, like a living musical museum. It also presumes a tradition in which musical works may be attributable to one or more persons and exist as repeatable entities, although it could have been written by that famous composer Anonymous. Today, we still can hear works by, say, Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, the three stalwarts of Western musical history, and many other traditional composers because they wrote it down using a universal notation system that is still in use today with relatively little change. Since every composer brings his or her own sensibilities to their music, each composer writes in their own very distinguishing style. If Wagner would have composed Happy Birthday, for example, it might have sounded something like this. Let's compose a piece of music together, shall we? To make it easy and short, we're going to compose a piece of music with just one note. Let's see how many kinds of decisions and the kind of stress a composer goes through. I present to you the ubiquitous 5 lines of the musical staff. Of course, it's not a musical staff until something's written on it, and even then doesn't make any music until a musician reads it and plays it. Okay. We need to choose an instrument. What instrument should we choose? What do you think? Okay, I heard someone say trumpet. Yeah, I know you said piano, but I heard trumpet first. So now we need the appropriate clef. In this case, for trumpet, we're going to have a treble clef. Now let's decide on a tonality, or the key of this masterpiece. For those in the know, I'm choosing this key, the key of F major. It has 1 flat. Yeah, I know, it could have been D minor, but nope, I decided F major. Okay, now let's make it in 4 beats to a measure. Basically a foxtrot. No, not a waltz, that would be in 3. This one's in 4. Now we have to choose a tempo. Let's say a moderate tempo. The Italian word moderato does that for us. There's a lot of Italian words in music. All right, let's compose. I said it would be just 1 note, so it's the key of F major. So let's make the note F for 3 beats, a dotted quarter note, or a dotted minim if you prefer, which is 3/4 of a semibreve. But unless you live in Europe, you don't need to know that even. Okay, moving on. Let's make the note with a strong emphasis, and we can add this accent. But now, I think I want that note to sound up an octave instead. That's better. So we have used 3 of the 4 beats in the measure. We have to add a rest, and of course the bar line to end it. I want it loud, so I'm going to add the FF symbol for fortissimo, more Italian. And let's have it get louder by adding a crescendo. No, not done yet. This piece is going to slow down a slight bit at the end with a poco retardando. And my final instructions to the musicians: with feeling. So here's my new composition, a new piece of music that has never existed before. To define a music composer as someone who creates new music that hasn't existed before is perhaps an inadequate definition. After all, a jazz musician will, during the inherent improvisation in the jazz performance, create new music that nobody has ever heard before. The great jazz composer, arranger Gil Evans said that jazz musicians, when they improvise, are essentially composing music at the speed of light. While this is true, a composer is additionally charged with memorializing the work so it can be performed repeatedly and by others again and again, theoretically forever. And he or she has to present it and organize it in such a way that the musicians can interpret the work as close to the composer's intent as possible. So a composer is that rare bird that somehow makes the rest of us sing. And that's why I'm so pleased to have Grammy-nominated composer and pianist Mike Holober as our guest this week. Mike has been described by Downbeat magazine as one of the finest modern composer-arrangers of our time. His work as a composer and arranger for the WDR and the HR Big Bands and the Westchester Jazz Orchestra, among others, has earned him a reputation as one of jazz scene's most respected jazz writers. And for more than 3 decades, Mike has been one of the most sought-after musicians in the industry. He has released 6 recordings as a leader and can be heard on more than 70 others as a sideman. Mike is a full professor at City College of New York, where he has taught for 25 years, and he has served as associate director of the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop from 2005 to 2015. Much of his music is inspired by the natural world and by champions of that world. When he's not at his beloved 1909 Steinway Model C, Holober can be found somewhere on the trail. Folks, please welcome Mike Holober.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Nice. Well, I'm not on the trail. Have you got that side camera on there, Carmen?
You don't seem to be on the trail.
No. No, I'm here.
I don't know what happened to your side camera. You had a great little piano spy cam. Seems to be missing.
Well, that's...
Well, in any case, folks,
Can you start it now? Can you start it now?
Here we go.
Did that come on?
Do that once more, Carmen, and we'll have it.
Okay, hold on. Let me try one more time. Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves, folks.
Spotlight video.
Hey, I see it.
There we go.
I see it.
I see it now.
It's not exactly next to him, but it's down there.
Yeah, there it is. Is the audio on there too? Yes.
No. No, just okay.
Oh, just the one. Okay.
Cool. Well, great. Are we good? Great to be here. Hey, Bruce. I see like one of my a friend that we've been friends since before I moved to New York in '86. I was still up in Binghamton, and Bruce Idam started coming up regularly. Fantastic trombone player. So it's great to see you, Bruce. As always, the last time we saw each other, we were riding bicycles on the bike path, and we bumped into each other in Millwood.
Again, I'm muted.
Good.
Boy,
Joe, you want to stop sharing your screen?
I say the smartest things when I'm muted. What do you mean stop sharing my screen? Oh, I have to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you.
There we go.
Duh. Thank you. Wow. I've been doing this too long. This is what, number 30? This is the 30th
something like that.
episode.
It's up there. I think Carmen has more of the official count than I do.
Yeah.
Up there.
Anyway, for those of you who've been wondering what all that stuff about composers and composing music was about, Mike Holober is one of a few of very gifted composers, and he's been around the world composing for various jazz orchestras, and you'll if you follow his music after this, you'll be able to hear some great efforts. And he was saying hello to Bruce Idam before, a great trombone player who has been in his orchestras playing his music as well. So
Andy Farber here too. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Another composer. We got a lot of composers in the house.
Uh-oh. I like that. I have to say, that piece you wrote, I have written many similar works, mostly for reharmonization exercises. And I always say to my classes, check this out. I'm going to play it an octave lower, if that's okay. And then I say, I wrote that. That's why I'm teaching this class. But then I always ask them, so does it go like this? Or does it go like this? Or does it go like this? And so yeah, I love that kind of thing where you take a minimalist thing and then just build on it like that, one idea.
I've always thought for people who are not musicians, there are ways to show kind of the process and things about music that allow people that are not they're not trained in music to be able to dive more deeply into a piece when they hear it.
Yeah, process. It's funny because process is a word that I don't know how to define it. I think everybody has a different process, and I think process is always changing. And you have to. A teacher of mine used to say you need to come up with melodic material, harmonic, rhythmic, formal, and some orchestration thing, and then you make and balance decisions with them. And is the process, like I write a lot of large ensemble music, so is the process that I write a song and then arrange my own song? That isn't my process. I usually like to start writing for exactly the instrumentation I'm doing, because that may affect what's going to happen. So if I'm writing something for piano trio, different things may happen in my brain than if I know I'm actually writing for a larger ensemble. So the process kind of changes. I also really like to say to students, what should I write first? The chords or the melody? Chords or the melody? Which one's first? Chords or the melody? And they're like, chords, melody. All right, let's vote. And they're like, which one did you write first? I said, I wrote the form first on the last one. And then I wrote the rhythm first on the three before that. And then I started to think about, maybe what the rhythm was, or the harmony or something like that. So it's, for me, it's not even necessarily chords and melody. It's like, what's this song going to feel like? What's the vibe? And then I try and write something to that. So I never know if it's going to be chords or melody or form or rhythm or sometimes tempo. Like I know, okay, this is a tempo I need to write and a feel that I want to write. And so it's, chords and melody. I think that's a trick question, but it's a good one because people always ask it.
It's like the chicken or egg,
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll go into a Chinese restaurant and I'll order egg foo young and chicken amandine just to see which comes first,
That's good.
But they always bring it at the same time, so I can't win.
I've been writing the last 5 years, I've been writing music with lyrics too. And I never know what's going to be first there either. But I do tend to not write them at the same time. Like to write lyrics away. I usually write lyrics away from the piece.
Are you writing like art songs or songs?
Thanks for asking that. At first, I did this project. You showed a very nice picture of it. Thank you for doing that. This octet I have called Balancing Act. And that's like extended. That's a jazz octet. It's got 4 horns, piano, bass, and drums, and voice. And they're not art songs. They're sort of extended jazz. They're extended jazz songs, extended form. So they're not just built on like a 32-bar form or something like that. They're usually more extended, and the lyrics may occur in different ways. There may be some like almost recitative type things where it's at a time. Sometimes the voice behaves like a horn and doesn't have lyrics. Sometimes it is lyrics. Sometimes the voice is blended in with the horns or just doubles a horn. But the project I'm working on now, for the last year, last academic year, I was on fellowship leave from my professorship at City College, and I spent the year working on a sort of an oratorio called This Rock We're On, Imaginary Letters. And the concept of this piece is, it's for jazz orchestra, which is a more elegant term, I think, for big band. People say jazz orchestra, does that mean, strings? And it's like, I think it could, but it's another term for us for just meaning big band. And my own big band, which is, we recorded a couple of years ago, as you mentioned. Before that, we had taken a, I think about an 11-year break or something like that while I did a lot of the German radio orchestras, and Westchester Jazz Orchestra was really thriving. But so for me, jazz orchestra means standard jazz orchestra, 5 saxophones, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, piano, bass, drums, and guitar. This project, This Rock We're On, is for that instrumentation, plus female vocalist, cello, and percussion. So it's 20 players. And the concept of This Rock is that This Rock We're On, imaginary letters. Each letter is an imaginary letter to or from some person whose life was inspired by the outdoors. Writers, adventurers, photographer, and the lyrics of the letter, and each letter is kind of an art song. So I am writing some music that I would say is not jazz, and most of those art songs are written for smaller chamber ensembles, extracted from the larger group, or it might just be like cello, piano, and voice, or cello, clarinet, flute, trumpet, and voice, something like that. And then each letter is followed by a jazz orchestra piece, instrumental, no voice, that reflects. Originally, the idea was to reflect on the intent or the message of the letter, but some of them are turning out to be more of really what maybe the protagonist is about. Like I wrote a letter, an imaginary letter from Ansel Adams to his wife called Dear Virginia, but the jazz orchestra piece is called Domes, which is one of the geological features of Yosemite Park, which is very common, and Ansel Adams spent a lot of time there, and many of his most iconic photographs are of landmarks in Yosemite, many of which I've visited. So a lot of these projects a lot of the settings are personal. I did Sigurd Olsen is one of my protagonists. He's a kind of like the, not the Edward Abbey of the North, but he lived in northern Minnesota. He was a college professor, a writer, a naturalist, spent a lot of time in the North Woods. And so his song is called 3 Words for Snow, and his jazz orchestra piece is called Boundary Waters, which is a wilderness park at the top of Minnesota, where I've spent some time there also. There's these are fun for me to talk about, so if stop me when when you've had enough.
Well, it sounds like you're getting into some interesting sort of avenues of composition. You're exploring on different ensembles. You're exploring contextual pieces that refer to specific either people or areas, right? It's interesting.
Yeah. The most exciting one for me thus far, I would say, is that one of my protagonists I had a very long breakfast with in Salt Lake City last January. Her name is Terry Tempest Williams, and she's an essayist and really one of the most prominent voices in the environmental movement now. And her piece is her first book, not her. Maybe it is her first book. It's called Refuge, and her most recent book, Erosion. So the song I wrote for her is called Refuge, and the orchestra piece is called Erosion. But that one grew another third piece because she sent me a recording of Castleton Tower, the sandstone tower, she lives in southeast Utah, had been recorded by some geologists and audiologists, and so they recorded like the thrumming of this tower and how it reacted to world events like an earthquake 1,000 miles away or a train 10 miles away. They could hear all this stuff, and so this recording of the tower is becoming a sort of like a minimalist piece in the tradition of John Adams, not John Luther Adams, but John Adams, who's a contemporary composer. And it's sort of like a pulse piece, like Steve Reich and Philip Glass are in that school, but John Adams is sort of my favorite of those.
Sure.
And the letter is turning into the letter is actually asking, the tower asking Terry to write a letter on its behalf. So I'm looking for, they're all getting a little bit off track like that. Her meeting with her was like a meeting with a great, my meeting with her was like a meeting with a great teacher when I explained to her what my formal idea was. And she was like, yeah, why do that? Why don't you just do this instead? And I was like, okay. So now there are many form breaks. It goes with sorry, Joe, okay.
I was just going to say, I was going to throw in something silly. You have to be careful on your pronunciation of that first one that you called refuge. We don't want it to sound like refuse.
Oh,
right?
Oh, thank you for that. That's, yeah.
We have something from you with the Gotham Jazz Orchestra.
Yeah.
At least it's a little kind of delve into your process.
Yeah, this is actually promo video from the recording session, so it's just a couple little clips and a little discussion, some of which is from one of the talking heads is Marvin Stamm, who was your guest last week. And let's see, I think maybe I'm the only other talking head. Maybe one other, maybe one of the producers, Mikiwa Miyajima. I forget. But it's short, a little arty, and it's just really, it gives you an overview of the Gotham Jazz Orchestra.
All right, let's take a listen to that.
The thing is, this music is very personal, and it's from the heart, written with no agenda. Written purely to be jazz orchestra music. From scratch, thinking about all 17 people. And that's a very big part of, I think, what makes my voice in this.
Michael's music is more in the line of how one would think of classical pieces. They're not 5-minute swing pieces or so on. It incorporates a lot of classical writing, but it's all jazz, a lot of improvisation, a lot of freedom of movement.
thing that's really nice is to work with a bunch of musicians where you know that everybody likes each other. It's just, I think I'm past the point where I just like to be surrounded by people that, where the vibe is right. There's a little love in the room. The music is difficult, but after 3 days, I'm very happy with how it's going.
Thank you.
More applause. Hang on.
Joe, do you have a laugh track for me also? I could.
I do.
I know you have the. Oh, I see Mickey was here. That was Mickey.
And this is
also laughing at the end.
This is for Bruce.
I'm glad to see that there was some camera time for Bruce there too. That was good. So that's a double CD, and it was it was a 4-day session, and it's essentially two different bands. So
and this is the one that was nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, it was a 2020 Grammy nominee for Best Large Jazz Ensemble Album.
There you go.
And as my friend Jim McNeely would say, yeah, come sit with us at the losers table now.
Well,
but yeah, it's really. I mean, that was a project a long time in the making. The band had been dormant for a long time because of my other, because of being so busy with the German radio bands and Westchester Jazz Orchestra. That started to slow down. I thought now or never.
So the Gotham Jazz Orchestra, did you record like the Batman theme and all that?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I should be using this for some of that. I should have those dialed up.
Right.
That's Billy Joel, though. If you know Root Beer Rag, that's from Billy Joel's second record. So, I was thinking about that one part where the guitar is just totally shredding, and just thinking that.
I thought it was funny that everybody else is in the room, one big room together, recording like organically, like we all like to do, and the electric rock and roll guitar player is stuck in a room by himself.
Yeah, and he wasn't even in the same room as his amp. We had to put the amp like I think it was in the bathroom or something like that. Because you need to really get the right sound, you need to record the amp, and you need to turn it up to get the right.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point using it.
Yeah, but you think, if the amp wasn't even going to be in the same room, he could have been in the room with you. He's be coming through his headphones, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that easy to record a big band in one room. I have special headphones that are noise. They're not noise canceling. They're extreme isolation headphones. So when I'm in a room like that, I can actually turn the brass are quiet enough that I don't have to be very loud in my own headphones. And it really helps. Really for me as an acoustic pianist, it just completely changes the touch. Whereas if everything's loud and if I'm turned up too much, I can't get to the bottom of the keys because it feels like I'm too loud. And if I can't hear myself, then I'm always playing, and the sound isn't as good. And then everything else goes out the window. Time, technique, tone. So when you play an acoustic instrument, it's really nice to have an organic balance. So.
Sure.
But I was thinking about that where the guitar is shredding. Just part of my background, like I have Led Zeppelin and complete and Steely Dan complete, and and I wish I had never traded away Led Zeppelin 2 on LP, but I have it again on CD now. I won't tell you what record I traded it for, though. It was a jazz record.
Oh no!
I'm not going to say what.
Wow.
So Mickey Wah is here. Mickey Wah was one of the producers for that project, and he's a great writer. And I produced her project, and I'm doing the next one. And we've worked together a lot in the booth and in front of the booth too. He's a really, really great writer.
Hello. If she wants to turn her mic on and chat, that's fine with us.
Of course.
Hey.
Hi there.
Hi.
So high praise for you.
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get you. What did you say?
I said Mike has high praise for you.
Oh yeah, I truly appreciate it. So yeah, what's interesting that Mike helped, like he said, Mike helped my first album. Then next year I was in a booth helping his recording session.
You develop teams, the people that you like to work with, and you end up working with them a lot.
That's great.
Yep.
We do have a question.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
What tools do you use to compose? Do the tools allow you to play a simulation?
Okay, so I'm always happy to answer this. I'm going to move my camera because it's the best way for me to answer.
Is it this?
So that's one. That's my pile of scores in progress.
And one of these, right?
Yeah, and a whole collection of favorite.
Andy, if you're still here, eat your heart out.
So yeah, I work with pencil and paper, and give my work to copyists. And they.
Wait a minute, are those King brand Electro Score pencils?
I have some.
Yes, in fact, they are. Andy, eat your heart out.
Oh man, I had to convert to Judy Green. I'm sorry to say.
Oh no, it's not the same.
King brand pencil, even the little stubs with the. Oh.
For those of you who don't know, I had a business in New York called King Brand, and we used to have to order a special order of these pencils from a company in Arkansas that employed all blind people. This is a very weird story. And they were charged with making these pencils. And it's a pencil, and inside is an electrographically charged lead. It's a weird concept, but these pencils, if you draw a line on a piece of paper with them and put a battery on one end and a light bulb on the other, the light bulb will light up, right? And the point is that for music writers, it puts such a dark image on the page that it photographed and photocopied, Xeroxed in those days, or Ozolid process reproduction really well, like ink, but it was still pencil and you could still erase it. So it was a very strange process, and I used to have to order them by the truckload. So they have since kind of disappeared, and I think I have probably the last batch of them that I'm hoarding myself. So, Andy, eat your heart out.
Another thing I'll say, and this I'm going to use the word process. When I work this way, and I envy those people who work with computers who have like the bandwidth to keep 10 pages in their mind at once, because I work on my grand piano with the cover closed, 4 pages spread all over it. So I have 3 or 4 pages open at the same time, and then maybe a similar section somewhere else on the piano, and then the next thing that's happening. So it's almost like having the whole score open at once, and I'll work on multiple pages at the same time. And I think that it's hard for me to imagine being able to do that. Or I'm sure other people have, like I said, developed this kind of just cognition and be able to think in those planes. But I can think in 8 places at once, but I like to have them open in front of me and then not have to like scroll to see one.
3 computer screens.
But some of those pieces in that promo video, like the first piece was from the first movement of the suite I wrote called Flow. It was commissioned by Westchester Jazz Orchestra, and it's a 3-movement piece, and the movements are 16 minutes long and 12 minutes long and about 18 minutes long. And just to work in forms that long, I really feel like I need to have for me to have the physical paper in front of me. But the second was written, the tenor soloist on the first one is Jason Rigby, and kind of in the tradition of Duke Ellington, I'm always writing for specific people, and picturing those people also helps you write for them. So that's completely written around Jason, and the second movement is written around Marvin Stamm, who you may have met last week, who's a dear friend, and until COVID, he was over here all the time. We played duo probably 25 or 30 times in the year before COVID, just kind of working out, and even at this stage, talking about music, and we'll play a tune and then we'll play the same tune again, and then we'll say, let's play that tune one more time, something new to us, and working out. And he's helped me a lot with my my duo playing. I used to really need a bass player and a drummer. So anyway, yeah, those are my tools. And then aural, AURAL, aural imagination. Like, people are always like, don't you need to hear it? And it's like, no. I think I can imagine it by looking at the score or picking through the score a little bit. Like, sometimes I can't hear a voicing, so I'll play it. I'll be like, oh, okay, I see. And then I look at the registration, and I can tell what it sounds like. And you think of the long history of music and people. Like, I always thought, if I had to pick one person with the best ears, I'd say that's probably Maurice Ravel. Just because he could imagine what music instrument combinations sounded like together to a level that you can't believe. And Debussy and Stravinsky, I was glad there was a Stravinsky picture. Those people knew what it was going to sound like, and I think that shouldn't be a lost art, because you need to visualize what your writing sounds like to have it sound as good as possible. In other words, if I want to write this pitch, well, it's, Joe wrote that piece for the trumpets that we started with, that piece that I love so much. And, this is a C, but the trumpet has to play a D because it's a B-flat instrument, and not to get too deep into a transposition thing, but that's getting towards the low range for the trumpet. But it's getting towards the high range for baritone sax. It's almost off the bottom of the oboe, and it's so low on the flute that it's very hard to. You need to think about those things and hear them to really write perfectly balanced music, or to have it be orchestrated in such a way that it really rings. So I don't see how you can do that with a computer. You need to put every note in and go, what does the flute sound like here? I know.
That's one of those things that is lost on this generation that's coming up now. It's too easy to put it into the computer, like you said, and hear that rather than rely on your experience and your experimentation, and for that matter, your study of former masters' scores.
Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, I see Valery Ponomarov is here, one of the world's great trumpet players. Valery, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? So nice to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to hear you. That arrangement was beautiful. Was it some kind of commission, or you just wrote music because you wanted to?
The things in the video, Valery?
Yeah.
They were all commissioned. The first one was Westchester Jazz Orchestra, and the second one, what was second? Oh, that's from the same piece. And then the kind of rocking out.
With that tenor player playing solo and all that.
Yeah, that was Jason Rigby. He's he's quite an elite tenor player. And then the last one, the one that was rocking out, that was commissioned by one of the U.S. Army bands.
Those voicings are incredible. Also, you know what? If you don't mind, if I can voice another minute,
please.
I wanted to contribute to this discussion, like baritone. What's high for baritone is low for trumpet and all that. Yep. But those high notes for baritone, Don Sabesky was always advocating, if you need intensity, that you give that note to a baritone.
Oh, right. I'm not saying
because for him it would be high and would be played with intensity, but a trumpet wouldn't be able to put the same amount of intensity into lower range note, you know?
Right. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you need to be aware of that. So
yes, absolutely.
Like drive it. Like I love to write high for the tenor because when or high for guitar, when you drive the instruments, it injects an intensity and sometimes a pattern. You know, guitar, like if guitar sounds an octave lower than written, so you write for guitar here, it actually sounds here. You double it with trumpet, which is actually an octave higher than that, but it's so high on the guitar for the guitar that it gives an impression of great intensity. So it matches like the trumpet, like a scream.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, Joe and I were talking about Gil Evans a little earlier, and he was, I think, one of the masters at, so I'm going to write the trumpets low because they'll sound like they're disturbed and struggling, and now I'm going to write the trombones high so it sounds like they're, Stravinsky did that, like wrote really high for French horns, and it just sounds like a wild animal in the middle of the orchestra. So it's just knowing what it sounds like. It's not that one is necessarily better than the other. Although my natural...
What you need for this particular moment in the arrangement, yeah.
Right.
Beautiful.
Let's see.
Valerie, it's great to see you, and we'll chat a little more down the line, okay?
Let's see. Mike, I want to hear you. Oh, how you select soloists for each piece, create creative process with these soloists. What do you think first, and how do you develop the connection between your music and the selected soloists? Wow, that's too heavy. I have to say, because I know like Jason and Marvin so well, like that it also will affect totally the vibe or the type of music I'm going to write for them. I would never be like, to write some music for them that I don't want to say isn't in their wheelhouse, because great musicians can kind of play anything, but you want to really put them in a light and in a setting where they're just really, really happy to be there. And they don't feel like they're working for you. They feel like they're working with you. And that's one thing I've always felt about some of my pieces get long. I like long solos because I think that soloists are, it was something in your intro. You said soloists are instantaneous, or I forget who you said it was. Soloists are like instantaneous composers. But soloists are also like
it was composing at the speed of light. That's a Gil Evans quote.
Oh, okay, that's good. But they're also like slow motion form composers. Like if you write 5 or 6 minutes of music and then you turn it, or 3 or 4 minutes of music, you turn it over to a soloist, their job is to keep developing the form. And you hopefully picked a soloist that, with your understanding of their language or what might happen, that you're turning it over to them, and you hope you framed it correctly and that they'll do the correct thing with the piece. I think it was Brookmeyer who said the soloist shouldn't happen until you've really developed everything in the front. So like Jumbo, which was the last part, I know there's almost 5 minutes of music before the first solo starts on that. And then the solos hopefully are really part of the form. I think it's like a part of the tradition where it's not, okay, let's open it up and everybody gets to. I don't really think that way. I'm thinking about the big form.
So someone asked if you would play for us a little bit.
Okay. But I'm gonna play this tune that I've never played before. It's my most recent composition. It's just like a tune, and so I'm not sure that I know it. So
does this mean it's a sneak preview?
Well, I don't know what's gonna happen with it. I'll probably next is I'll just play it for myself some more. But I spent a lot of time, especially this last year. I spent a lot of time at artists retreats and composing. And this last year, when I was on fellowship leave working on this rock we're on, I spent a month in Wyoming at Brush Creek Foundation for the Arts and Ucross Foundation for the Arts, and then February at the McDowell in New Hampshire, which is like the granddaddy of the artist residencies. And then I was working on this rock. But it's really hard when you're a pianist and you're sitting at a nice piano to not be distracted by the piano and to just play. And so in the middle of writing all these excruciatingly developed long form movements, I wrote a little waltz, and I've never played it for anybody, so I'll try it. But I hope I remember it. I mean, the music's here, but
I'll tell you what. This is going to be interesting because this is an experience that an audience doesn't really get to experience in a live concert situation or a club, right? Usually you go into those kinds of situations with things very prepared. So you as a composer, it's very interesting that you'll enchant us with a new work that you've never played before, and we're going to be the benefit of your exploration of it.
Oh, okay. I hope that it is a benefit and not like, oh my God, what happened there? But this is, I would say, a very straight ahead tune, maybe a little bit in sort of a Bill Evans tradition, and it doesn't have a title, so I'll look for some potential titles in the Zoom, hopefully.
I'm going to see if I can't get your piano spy cam up and running here. Hang on. Will that work? There you go.
All right, here we go. The world premiere of Untitled Waltz.
Yeah.
Thunderous applause.
Okay, that one's not going on the record, but that was.
It was good.
Thank you.
I like it. Little Lalo Schifrin-esque, maybe.
Oh, okay. I like that.
At least parts of it.
One of the first records I ever got was a Lalo Schifrin record. That title was a spoof on the play is called Marat Sade. Do you know this? The persecution and assassination of Jean-Paul Marat, as performed by the inmates of the asylum at the Charenton under the direction of the Marquis de Sade. And the dissection of songs by the ensemble of the blah blah blah. I don't remember, but it was like Baroque, sort of classical chamber music for jazz musicians, and it was really very influential.
There you go. I have to ask Carmen to step in a little bit and give our little talk about our little organization here. Carmen, are you around somewhere?
Yes, I'm around.
There you go.
Good evening, everybody. What a great, it was a great treat to listen to an unfinished or untitled piece. So thank you so much for that, Mike. And thank you, Joe, for providing us this space on Monday nights to gather. That took me back. We haven't been in clubs in a long time, and I got to see about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I went to go see Helen Sung at Mesro, and it was nice to sit in a club. And so tonight I was kind of in a club. I turned my light out as you played, so I could kind of be in fantasy that I'm in a jazz club, because it's been such a long time. So we are gathered here today on Monday to enjoy jazz, to celebrate the legacy of music, to enjoy these wonderful artists that come and spend their time with us every Monday. And this is our 30th episode. So you guys got it right at the top of the show. This is our 30th episode. So Mike, you're an anniversary kind of episode for us. You can, in order to keep these shows going and in order to keep our programs going, including Jazz Arts Academy and including our summer school, our middle school summer camp, as well as also we will be back for Summer Jazz Cafe, and we will be back for Jazz in the Park, and we will be back for special performances and talking jazz lecture series. So in order for us to continue doing that, please check us out at www.jazzartsproject.org/donate. I'm losing my ability to speak here. And I'm just going to show you my screen. You can see us on our website. Nice, easy here. You just click on that button and it'll take you right there to our PayPal. So that's what it looks like. And then the other thing I just wanted to show you guys, if you missed some of our episodes, you can go check us out on our YouTube channel. We've got all the episodes here, beginning way back here with number 1 with Hendrik Merkens, and we're going all the way up to 29 with Marvin Stamm, and in a few days, of course, we'll have Mike on this as well. So again, this is a great benefit. This is of no cost to anyone, so please check us out online. And the last thing I will ask is, what I noticed from week to week is we have average about 30 or so people. I ask that you invite your friends to come and join us. So invite a guest to join us on screen. Have someone share the joy of jazz with you. And I'd like to see us get up to 40 or 50 before the end of the year. So help us reach that goal as well. That's all I got for you, Joe.
Well, next week, of course, is going to be the great Randy Brecker. He'll be joining us. And he actually couldn't be here today. I invited him, but he was actually on the jazz cruise, but he's not really on the cruise. They recorded some music so that they could play a virtual cruise for the jazz cruise. So I thought that was interesting, but he'll be with us next week. And the following week, we're going to have a little bit of a holiday celebration. I think we're going to invite everybody to bring their best drink and best holiday cheer, and join us, and we'll bring in the holidays and the new year as a group, and we'll have some fun with it. Maybe not even any specific guests. We'll just invite all of our former guests to join us if they want to come and wish us good cheer. So that'll be in 2 weeks. But right now, let's just have a few more minutes with Mike Holober. And thank you so much, Carmen. And by the way, of course, we have to give thanks to our platinum presenting partner, Ocean First Bank. They've been very good to us this year. And, they're one of the reasons, in addition to your donations, that we're able to continue doing these kinds of programs. So there you go. Thanks again, Carmen. And back at you, Mike. Where'd you go? There you are.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for, what a great organization. Thanks for asking me to do this. Yeah, like another question or something like that would be great.
Sure. Somebody had a suggestion for the title, Loving the Keys.
Oh, right. How about Loving the Keys? Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's in the Florida Keys. I like that.
Yeah, there could be a concept for a whole album,
Yeah, there used to be a jazz scene. I hope it survives hurricane season.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you have a spot where people can purchase your CDs? We can post that up here.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, the best place to do that is I have a Bandcamp page now, and Bandcamp is a great way
Do you happen to know the address to it?
Yeah, if you just put in Mike Holober Bandcamp, you'll find it.
Okay.
And that Bandcamp, it doesn't advertise your stuff. It's just a sales platform where most of the funds actually go to the artists that are selling the CDs. And so it's kind of.
Oh, thank you. Somebody put it up. There you go.
Oh yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
So it's just a really good format for musicians, like a platform where we can sell our stuff and then end up with most of the money. Whereas, some of the other platforms where you can listen, the funds that go to the musicians, it's a difficult situation. But Bandcamp is the place, and they're really good, doing a good thing.
That's great. Yeah, a lot of artists are doing that as well. So we're kind of running at the top. If anybody has any last minute questions, now's the time. Now's the time. There's a good title for a tune.
Hey.
I have a quick comment if we have time for that.
Please, Valerie. Sure.
We have time. Okay. Speaking of untitled pieces, beautiful pieces which turn later into legends and all that, I can only think of A Moment's Notice. You know where that title came from? Coltrane's tune, Moment's Notice?
No idea.
Okay, the story is told to me by Curtis Full, who is on the album. Lee Morgan, Curtis Full, John Coltrane. So John Coltrane passed the music to everybody. And the music didn't have a title, just like Mike's piece of, Mike's was. And Curtis looked at it, and we're ready to go. Coltrane says, we're ready to go to record, right? Curtis looked at it and he says, you want me to play it on Moment's Notice?
There you go.
And Coltrane said, oh, that'll be the title. That's how the title came up. That's where it came from.
How about that? That's great. Yeah. Great story.
And it comes from Curtis Fuller, who was a part of the session. Anyways.
There you go. That's great. That's very good.
I'm sure there'll be a beautiful title fitting the beautiful music Mike wrote.
The closest I ever got to that was I used to host this jam session in Nyack, and my friend Cameron Brown was the bass player, and he was such a great guy, and some people would come up and they, what do you want to play? And this one guy, he was a singer, and he said, I have no idea. And so I said, oh, what key?
Yeah, no idea.
I got all the way through the bridge with lyrics before I finally couldn't stay out in front of it. It's sort of like, I have no idea. What is this tune here? And it went. I made it all the way to the end of the bridge with just complete nonsense lyrics before I was like, oh, I'm only kidding.
Did you ever finish that tune?
Oh yeah, it's finished. That
cool.
You know what? That one's never been performed either. But fortunately, it won't be tonight because
you don't remember it?
You don't want to hear me sing. Kind of a day.
I have no shame, but I would love, if it were called Monday with Mooche, I wouldn't mind. It'd be fun to see that on a CD or on streaming somewhere.
Yeah, I did enough damage to myself without having to sing one. But yeah,
we had one last question here. How old were you when you started playing and composing? How did you get started?
Oh, well, when I started playing piano when I was 6.5, and I was a serious classical pianist. And my degrees, my undergraduate and graduate degrees, both in classical piano, and I thought I was going to be a chamber musician and an accompanist. My summertime jobs in college, one of them, several summers, I was a rehearsal pianist for an opera company, and I thought that's where I was heading. And then I, fortunately, got bit by the jazz bug, and I've been very happy on.
Yeah, opera, even less work than jazz in that field.
But I started composing, I guess, right near the end of high school. But that was sort of like, singer-songwriter tunes, not jazz yet. And then by the time I was well into college, I started writing.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to State University, New York, at Oneonta for undergraduate school, and I went to State University at Binghamton for graduate school.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I have to say, I did not have a conservatory experience, but I had an amazing, both undergrad and graduate school, I had amazing experiences and fantastic teachers, and the guidance that got me from not necessarily going to college to having a happy life as a musician.
That's terrific. Well, thank you so much, Mike. It was most pleasurable. We heard some great music. We had a nice chat. I'm sure we probably can have 2 or 3 more hours of stories and chat. But we only can do this once a week. Otherwise, I'd definitely go crazy. But hopefully you'll come back and join us again.
That'd be fun.
And I told Marvin someday I'd like to have, when we open up, I'd like to have him down here. Maybe we can get you guys and your group down together.
That would be
for an actual live performance. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be good.
And as usual, our custom here is to shut down the Facebook and shut down the recording, and so nobody can be held to anything. The drinks can come out, and we can let down our hair, and we have an after gig hang for anyone who would like to hang out and just chat a little bit in a more sort of free will environment. So we're gonna do that now. I'm gonna shut down the Facebook and the recording, and we're going to go from there. Thanks again, Mike. Thank you all for coming. Come back again next week for Randy Brecker.
Thank you.